All right, we're back for one last one for this section. Another application problem. So, a company manufactures 3-speed, 5-speed, and 10-speed bikes. Each bike passes through three departments: fabrication, painting and plating, and final assembly. The relevant manufacturing data are given here in the table. So, fabrication, it takes 3 hours for 3-speed, 4 for 5-speed, and 5 for 10-speed, with a total max hours of 120 per day, and so on. And then the profit is 80, 70, 100. So, what we need to do is we need to say let x1 equal, and we'll just go across the table here. So x1 equal a 3-speed bike. So x2 is going to be the 5-speed, and x3 is going to be the 10-speed. So our max P is going to be equal to what? Well, it's going to be 80 times x1 plus 70x2 plus 100x3. And we're going to subject that to all of our constraints right here in the table. So we have, in that case, 3x1 plus 4x2 plus 5x3, and that has to be less than or equal to 120. Next row, we have 5x1 plus 3x2 plus 5x3 has to be less than or equal to 130. Next one has to be 4x1 plus 3x2 plus 5x3 less than or equal to 120 again. And x1, x2, x3 have to be greater than equal to 0. So again, we just read across the table and we wrote our different inequalities right here. Now, what we need to do is we need to set up our initial equations and change it from inequalities to equations. And then from there, we can set up our initial tableau. And then after that, we just simplify. So I think we're not going to have enough space to do all this. So I'm going to write the equations here, then we'll put the tableau on the next page. So we're going to add our slack variables. So for the first one, we have 3x1 plus 4x2 plus 5x3 plus s1 equals 120. And I'm just going to go down here, then I'll put the last one up here at the bottom, solved for 0. Then I'll have a 5x1 plus a 3x2 plus a 5x3 plus s2 equals 130. And then I have a 4x1 plus 3x2 plus a 5x3 plus s3 equals 120. And then I'll have a minus 80x1 minus 70x2 minus 100x3 plus p equals 0. And then my last thing is x1, x2, x3, s1, s2, and s3 are all greater than equal to 0. And then I'm going to plug that into my initial tableau, and from there we can do our simplex method. All right, so we'll start that on the next page. All right, here we are. So we have S1, S2, S3, P, and we have X1, X2, X3, S1, S2, S3, P. And writing out what we had in that initial equations there, we had a 3, better write that a little clearer, a 3, a 4, a 5, and then a 1, 0, 0, 0, and that was 120. And then we had a 5, a 3, a 5, a 0, 1, 0, 0, 130. And then I had a 4, a 3, a 5, 0, 0, 1, 0, and then 120 again. And then we had a minus 80, a minus 70, a minus 100, a 0, 0, 0, a 1, and a 0. All right. So now, first things first, we look for that largest negative in the didn't in that last row. That happens to be that one. And so for our quotients, we're going to have what? 120 divided by 5. We'll have a 130 divided by 5, and we'll have a 120 divided by 5. Okay. 120 divided by 5 is going to be 2 and then a 4. So it's going to be 24 here. And that's going to be a 24 here. And this is going to be bigger. So that's going to be, it goes in twice and then in 6. So that's going to be 26. So I'm just going to say these are the same, the top and the bottom, but I'm going to just go with the top one just no reason at all. It's the first one, so I'm going to say it's the smallest by default just because it's the first one. And so that's going to be my pivot. Now, could I have chosen that one? Yeah, you can choose that one too. It doesn't matter. You just have to make sure you keep track of it. And so this is going to enter and this is going to exit. All right, so with entering, that means now we have over here X3 and then S2, S3, P, and we have that. And what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to take 1/5 row 1, and that's going to be my new row 1. Now, because these are all the same, I'm going to say minus row 1 plus row 2 is my new row 2. Minus row 1 plus row 3 goes to my new row 3. And now I'm going to have to take a 20 times that. So 20 row 1 plus row 4 is my new row 4. Okay. So the first one's going to be the hardest because now I'm going to have fractions. So I'll have a 3/5, and I'll have a 4/5. I'll have a 1. I'll have a 1/5 of a 0, a 0, a 0, and then I'll have my 24. And then I'm going to take minus that plus that. So now that gives me what? 2 minus 1, a 0, a minus 1, a 1, a 0, a 0, and then 10. And then I'll have here a 1, a minus 1, a 0, a minus 1, a 0, a 1, a 0, and then I'm going to get a 0 because they subtract out. And then I'm going to take 20 times that, so it's a 60, so it's going to be minus 20, and then I'll have a 10, and then a 0, and then I'll have a 20, and a 0, and a 0, and a 1. And 20 times that is going to be 2,400, I think. All right, so my biggest negative, well, I only have one, so it's going to be that one. And so my quotient is going to be what? Well, it's going to be 24 divided by 3/5. And if I multiply by that divided 8 times 5 is going to be 40. And then I have 10 divided by 2, which is 5. Oh, here's my easiest one. 0 divided by 1 is 0, so that's my smallest. And so I'm going to go here. Okay. Now this one's easy because it's already 1. So now all I have to do is take, it looks like a negative 3/5 row 3 plus row 1 is my new row 1. A minus 2 row 3 plus row 2 is my new row 2. And 20 row 3 plus row 4 is my new row 4. Okay. All right. So then the next page is going to be that. Now remember, this one is going to enter. So that's X1. And this one's going to exit. So it's going to be X3, S2, and then X1. All right. So let's write that down so I don't forget that on the next page. And so we have X3. Then I had S2, then X1, then P. Then I have X1, X2, X3, S1, S2, S3, P, and my dotted line. All right. And so let's see, what was I doing? Minus 3/5 plus that. Okay, so that's going to give me 0, 7/5, 1, 4/5, 0, minus 3/5, 0, and 24 because we had the 0 down there. And that's going to be a 0, a 1, a 0, a 1, a 1, a minus 2, a 0, and a 10. That row stays the same. And then we add, what was it, times 20 times that. So that's going to be a 0, a minus 10, a 0, a 0, a 0, a 20, a 1, and it's still 2,400. All right, well, guess what? There's only one negative again. So that's that one. This one we can't have, so it's gone. Then we have 10 divided by 1, which is 10. And we have 24 divided by 7 fifths. And so that's going to be 5 times that. It's going to be 10, 12, 120 over 7. And so that's going to be way bigger than 10. And so 10 has to be my smallest. And so that means I'm going to be here. So I'll take a minus 7 fifths row 2 plus row 1 goes to my new row 1. That one I don't have to do anything. Then I can take row 2. Oh, that's, yeah, okay. Row 2 plus row 3 is my new row 3. And 10 times row 2 plus row 4 is my new row 4. All right, so now this one is entering, this one is exiting. And so I'll have x3, x2, x1, p. And so those are the same as far as x's go. So I'll have what? A 0, a 0, a 1, minus 3 fifths, minus 7 fifths, 11 fifths, 0, and to 10. Then my next row is the same, so 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, minus 2, 0, 10. Then we just add those together, so 1, 0, a 0, a 0, a 1, a minus 1, a 0, and a 10. And then 10 times that row plus that row, so that's going to be what? A 0, a 0, a 0, a 10, a 10, a 0, a 1, and then 2,500. Okay, so now those are all zeros, so we stop. And those are going to be my numbers. So then we're say let S1, S2, S3 equals 0. So X1 is equal to 10 over here, and that was 3 speed. X2 equals 10, but that's a 5 speed. And X3 is equal to also a 10, and that's 10 speeds. So 3 speed bikes, 5 speed bikes, 10 speed bikes, 10 of each. And our max profit is going to be equal to $2,500 when we make basically 10 of each type of bike. All right, so I'll stop there and hopefully that will help you with all your exercises.